Duolingo just announced that they're going AI first, and people are furious about it. What does that mean for the future of language learning apps? Duolingo have been slowly rolling out AI now for the past couple of years, ever since the introduction of Duolingo Max, so it's not something that's particularly new. So what the Duolingo CEO, Louis von Ahn, said, they were slowly replacing human workers with AI to improve the efficiency of certain things that they could previously had to do manually and now could be automated. But they've also stated that AI completed work in 12 months at the time that humans could have taken in 12 years, which is followed by their bold claim that more content will be produced by AI in upcoming years, which would mean their courses would mostly be AI generated with very little human vetting and intervention. And areas where they feel like they can't automate using AI, will they start to seek additional headcount? So understandably, there's this massive public backlash against Duolingo, and you've seen many people on social media threatening to boycott Duolingo. Now, this came about from an internal email going around the Duolingo employees stating that AI will eventually be rolled out to replace contract workers. And people very understandably link that to being they're going to lay off their workforce in favor of AI, which is obviously unethical. But this is a reminder, though, that this is not particularly an isolated event. Many tech companies have already led the way. Like Shopify is the most recent example of a big tech company going AI first. But Elvin, all the big tech companies are doing it. So why is Duolingo at fault here? What's the problem? Well, the problem is you have to think about what Duolingo was set up to be. It was an app intended to teach languages to new people being introduced into a language, right? So it's saying that if the company is going AI first, then we're taking away the human elements. Language learning involves humans, and if you take away the human element, what do you have left? Now, many people already have issues with the fact that they're no longer talking to a human being when they're learning languages with AI. They're talking to a robot. Now, I will iterate that the human element is really important and it matters to people. And unfortunately, that's just a problem with creative industries everywhere. They're all facing the same problem with AI slowly coming in and phasing away the human elements of creativity. So let's just assume that people didn't have an issue with the ethical side of AI, right? So how good is the AI element in Duolingo? I haven't personally used AI in Duolingo. I haven't used any of the features there. But from what I've seen, many people have concluded that it's not very good. It's very prone to errors. They're miscalibrated AI learning material. So there are times where people have claimed that they have seen material that are completely not relevant to their proficiency level. Someone absolutely new to the language coming in and seeing a sentence or a topic about ordering from a restaurant, with very advanced terms, it's clearly not calibrated well for them. Basically all the stuff that humans were paid to come in, double check and sign off on. What really hurts the most is that because Duolingo is more catered to beginners or absolute beginners, they're going to be the ones that are unable to validate their own learnings. They will just accept facts as they are because they don't know any better. So they will naturally feel like their trust with apps like Duolingo is very much dependent on its accuracy to get AI translations or AI produced material correct. So if the content is completely wrong, then they're shooting themselves in the foot. They're eroding away the user's trust. And that's what really annoys me as well, right? As someone who's also trying to help people learn a language, I see Duolingo as pretty much a litmus test for entrance into a language so that they can get a feel on whether or not they want to progress learning with that language via Duolingo. So when they come into the app and they see that the material doesn't quite suit them, or Duolingo is unable to explain things to them correctly because Duolingo is using too much AI, I would I would worry that these learners would be potentially put off from learning that language altogether because they don't find Duolingo's AI generated material useful. They might have the false impression that learning that language is too difficult for them. So especially at that level, translation errors are costly. Not just to Duolingo, but to the language learning industry or to all learners. It's not a win-win situation at all for anyone. I've built a platform myself, and I've seen how incredibly frustrating it is to try and get AI to generate material that's half decent, to be honest. I know how careful you really have to be and how methodological you have to be to AI-fy an app. And to me, it feels like Duolingo just shoehorned AI into the app without really too much thinking as to what the connotations are with doing so. Like, they have already gotten rid of most of their popular community-driven features like the community forums or the sentence discussion stuff. In many users' eyes, Duolingo have alienated their user base. And this announcement has just been the nail in the coffin. This is how I think the future of Duolingo or other language learning apps will go. It could go one of two ways, I think. So either at this point in time, Duolingo has already gone too far and it's going to be quite an uphill battle to try to go back and win back these users that have left their platform. And if so, the ball is really in their court to sort of go back on what they said, because they can't continue with this whole AI first approach and expect very little resistance. And if they really insist on doing so, they have a lot of work on their hands to really prove the benefits of AI on their platform. Like, it really has to be the driver, the lead example of a language learning app that has successfully integrated AI into their platform and has done it well. And which, like I said, for like the previous reasons that I had explained, it's a very difficult job to convince people to do. But I mean, if they do manage to pull it off and they're successful, then they've set a new norm for the language learning app industry. And then every other app will try to come and follow their success as well. But I think the big question for me is, does this bode well for the future of language learners? Is this beneficial for them? Now, I have stated, right, as part of my mission for my own language learning platform, that AI has its place to help open up the accessibility of language learning material. So that, in my eyes, is a big win. It's a big cost saver to users, and this is a big but, AI has to be consistent and it has to improve, but I believe it will over time. So just to wrap up then, in my opinion, right, Duolingo really shot themselves in the foot here. Going AI first really is not the way to go. There's a crucial human element involved that will remain with language learning, because it will always involve humans. There's always going to be the social aspect, as long as people communicate, and they always will have to be. And really, as a resolution for now, is really to emphasize, really reassure people, that the human element is never going away. The community aspects has to stay there, and Duolingo, unfortunately for them, they have already alienated their user base by removing a lot of community features. My platform prioritizes on community first, right? I'm building the platform for learners and teachers to come together and connect and share knowledge. But we do use AI right now, but only to fill out the gaps in independent studying. In my eyes, this is where AI has its place right now. I do hope that Duolingo does kind of think about reversing some of its policies and, keeping contractor work around, at least while it's necessary to double check and vet for AI generated content errors or AI translated errors, because AI is not there yet, and we all know that. Anyway, thanks for listening. If you're interested in my language learning platform, I've left details about it in the description. Come give it a go. It's free to try, and it's something that I also try to use in my daily routine. And over time, I'm hoping it will house a large community of like-minded learners. I'm Elvin Speaks. Thank you for listening. I hope you have a great day, and I'll see you soon. Bye.